Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we're going to give our praises and honor and glory.
Say Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem HaKadosh.
I'm going to give double honors to the apostles of great men, Stone Ruben. Right, and to the men that put this truth, this word is sincere, and the truth is Shalom. The sisters that listen to Shalom. We have a few brothers from JMS Trinidad here. That could break out the bread to the Spirit and for the Lord. You know, and basically, going off on the topic, basically, concerning these demons, you know, these demons leveling up. It basically offer live stream of Apostle Gaba, the elders from last week. You know, when Apostle Gaba was stating that the amount of demons Apostle Gaba, you know, we have to deal with, you know, being 30-something years in the truth. You know, and it's like, you know, more years in the truth. It's like a video game, you know. You play a video game and every stage you actually getting harder. The stages just get harder and harder. And that is basically the truth. Right? The truth is like them video game stages. You know, when you reach the bosses, each level 1 will be easy, level 2. You know, it start to get harder and harder, the bosses just get harder and harder. You know what I mean? And I basically like this truth. You know, the demons, spirits, you know, they do jumping jacks. They do jumping jacks, you know, they get harder and harder. So what we have to do also is put on the armor, keep on the armor, because we already have the armor. You know, keep on the armor, the Heavenly Father, and constantly pray to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, because the journey that we on is going to be an easy journey. Right? You go have storms, you go have storms, right? You go have earthquakes, you go have disasters, all these things will be trials. You know, it will be trials that the Heavenly Father put you through to see that you're fit to crown you.
Something of it. This is the book of Romans chapter 8. And verse 12 says, therefore, brethren, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. For if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die.
If you live after the flesh, you shall die. And we've all been victims to that already. You know, even in the truth. You know, you go off, you know, and you feel rotten. You feel beat up that sometimes you might not want to go and pray to the Heavenly Father. You know what I mean? Because you know you have sin again and everyone asks you for forgiveness. You know, we've all been victims of that. So the scripture said, hey, you let sins be done. And that is the spirits on your left hand side trying you. You know, but you have to pick up yourself and continue. You know, because and continue in this faith. Right?
It says, but if ye through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. For as many as are led by the Spirit of power, they are the sons of God. This is what you can do. Romans. Romans 8 and 13. Mortified, it go into the word thanato. It means to put to death, metaphorically, to make, to die, destroy, render extinct.
Right? To make extinct, right? To put to death. Like what we basically have to do. Because Yahushua was perfect. Yahushua was perfect and he showed us how to be perfect. That is why John, Paul, say, "O wretched man that I am, who could save us from this flesh?" Wow. Yeah.
This is Ephesians 6 and verse 10. It says, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in Yahweh and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Yahweh, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world."
Isaac, rulers of the darkness of this world. Esau, right? Because Esau actually, the elites getting the power from Satan himself.
Yep, them and all in spirituality on the left hand side. You know? Scripture says in Psalms chapter 109 and 6. 106 and it says, "Set thou a wicked man and put Satan at the right hand." You know?
So the scripture say, put on the whole armor. Right? I think it's supposed to have more on.
It says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places."
High places, and the high places you see many large because of the kind of sacrifice. Even in the music industry, you see all that. You see, in high places. So, as I said before, they getting the power from on the bank side, right? Because the earth was given unto them. Now I Satan told Yahushua, bow before me, because all these things given unto me. See, right?
See not now Yahushua is now with us. Now we tell you, you have to pray and you have to fast. But you know it not with us. Because you have to get that armor up, you have to put on that helmet of salvation, you know, that breastplate of righteousness, you have to get.
Reading on verse 14, it says, "Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked."
Fiery darts of the wicked. Fiery darts of the wicked. Fiery darts of Esau. Right? Because Esau, the elites, they know who they are. Right? They know who they are. And they know who we are. So they will try their best to try to conquer us. They try to keep us away from our power. Right? So they will be sending the spiritual wickedness. That's why they put all kinds of things in food, you know, to kill the penile gland, you know, for the thing not to open up, you know, to get out that spiritual sight, you know. Right.
But even so, the scripture say that he did that diligent search. He knew what it is to do to keep the Lord's people down. But through the Spirit, right, the Lord's people would not remain down. You understand? And that is why it says to basically to put a shield of faith, and that is thy faith in Yahushua. You understand? Because it's true Yahushua Mashiach will be able to overcome. You understand? So it says, "Wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which..."
Helmet of salvation, the helmet of salvation is sword of the Spirit, right?
"Which is the word of God."
That's it.
Yeah, I was just saying, it say which is the word of God. When you examine the word of God is Yahushua.
Right.
You understand? Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints.
Nice it. We are doing a nice it. Prayer is important, right?
Because they pray without ceasing.
Without ceasing. That's good thing. Yeah. Very good.
That's something here that says this is Romans chapter 6 and verse 6. It says, knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. For he that is dead is freed from sin. Right? Yeah, so you have to actually put with our old man. That old man will be crucified with, on the cross. You know?
Yes. Going back
Well,
to especially saying that right, the apostle, because experience is a great teacher. You're not you know, even the apostles, because as his brothers were saying, you know, coming up inside of the street, right, you know, with so many years, you have to deal with a number of spiritual demons. As a video I watched with them probably some years back, however, they were saying the longer you're in the street, the spirits actually start to speak a little softer. So where they try to confuse you. You understand? That what you'll be battling with your own subconscious. Right? But this is Sirach 34 verse 9. A man that had traveled knoweth many things, and he that had much experience will declare wisdom. And that is one thing the elder apostles have will also be going through. Because what is his travel? Being experienced, going through this truth is like a journey that he will be going through. He traveling through. You understand? Inside of this flesh. So what he will have a lot of experience. He will have more knowledge and more spirits to deal with. Because what? Even when you watch certain movies, as the brothers were saying, inside our game, if you put it inside our game, they will send different enemies and stronger enemies at the personal intelligence leader of those enemies.
because they're on different levels.
And they conquer that one. Conquer that first enemy. Right, so they will send something stronger than that one.
Sometimes.
So like now the script I was talking about, I don't know if I don't know it, but trying to paraphrase the best of my ability, yeah. When capture one demon and you come back with
Seven.
yeah.
Luke 7 stronger demons than the 7.
Luke chapter 11 verse 24. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh to dry places seeking rest, and finding none, he said, I will return unto my house whence I came out. And when he cometh, he findeth it sweat and garnished. Then goeth he and taketh to him 7 other spirits.
Now you level up. Now you level up it, right? Because it was not cast out, right? But he gone, and he bring back the bodies, right? And that is where he had a face.
And if you look into where that scripture says, it said the last state of that man was worse than the first. You understand? So if it is in this truth, if it is you don't learn to put on that armor to basically vanquish these spirits, then these spirits will conquer you, and it will be harder for you to gain control over them. You understand?
It says, verse 26, then goeth he and taketh him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there, and the last state of that man is worse than the first.
Their spirits more wicked than yourself. You understand? Their spirits more wicked than yourself. As we say, it's like a game, you know. The spiritual and more combat at the end of the game, you will get a reward. Right? And that is exactly what we fight for. As the brother was speaking before we started, Apostle Paul said, we have finished. We have run the race.
And I know he know that there is a reward meeting for him. You understand? Verse 9, It says, a man that had traveled knoweth many things, and he that had much experience will declare wisdom. He that had no experience knoweth little, but he that had traveled is full of prudence. You understand? So what? You learn to be careful. With prudence, actually means to be careful. You know how to be careful on this walk. Because why? When you come inside of this truth and we get to know the laws, the statutes and commandments, right? And the scripture says, if thou desire wisdom in Ecclesiasticus 1, I believe around verse 24, somewhere around there, say if thou desire wisdom, keep the commandments. Right? So one of the things about it, when you walk into this life and you keep the commandments, the Most High will feed you with wisdom. And as the scripture says, she will have you underneath her fetters of iron and so forth. And I read it over. He that had no experience knoweth little, but he that had traveled is full of prudence. Meaning what? You'll be careful. Because what? There's adultery. There's dietary laws like eating of pork and then kind of thing. But you'll be careful if somebody come and offer you, though you're hungry, somebody come and offer you a abominable plate, you'll say, nah, I good. You understand? It's better fast. If a woman, she's very attractive, you understand, towards your eyes, alright, but due to the fact that she have a husband, but though she's coming on to you, what, you will stay, far away. So what, with that experience, with that prudence, you'll be careful, and guess what, you'll be able to go on to the next level. But here comes a stronger demon now, he'll speak softer.
Because it's basically like it's being tried.
And one of the things is with these stronger demons, as the apostles were stating, they'll talk softer. One of the things is they will even come with scripture. But the scripture says this. I remember a point in time, me and another brother was going through a situation concerning the law. And scriptures come to my mind, but we say, you know what, best we let it be. Alright, best we let it be, and however the Most High swing it, he swing it. So like here.
It says, I want to say this down. This is Hebrews chapter 12, starting at verse 1. It says, wherefore, seeing we are also encompassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doeth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us.
According to Romans 15 and 4, Romans 15:4, it says the things that were written aforetime were written for learning. So all our forefathers, scripture saying in Hebrews chapter 11, some of our forefathers, they went through certain things, death and all these kind of things, but through faith by Yahweh Shemeshai, they never let those demons come upon them to doubt, right? And guess what? They have this promise unto them right about now. You understand? Which is what the scripture says, the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. So we was there back in that time. Some of us might have been martyrs back in those days. But coming through now, where Satan will try to try us or tempt us, even with the MOTB, which we know what that is, that rice grain. Alright? The Most High, what you have to do to is pray to Yahweh Shemeshai to send angels also to strengthen him, the same way how they strengthened Yahushai and ministered unto him after Satan came and tempted him. Satan is the most powerful entity on the left hand side of the Most High. Right? But Yahushai was able to conquer. So he beat the boss. If to say on the left hand side of the Lord. Because he's also the right hand, which right hand goes back to strength.
This is 1 Maccabees 2, and I read out verse 15. It says, now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. Call to remembrance what acts your fathers did in their time, so shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation?
It's a call to remembrance, So you have to remember. We have to remember the scriptures.
It's like the prophets before us, they lay a pathway to walk. And that is the path we have to take. You know?
They were the examples.
Done.
Reading on, it says, was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandments and was made Lord of Egypt. Phineas, our father, in being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Yahushai, for faithfulness, the word was made a judge in Israel. Alright? So basically these men, right, trust in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, they trust in his laws, they had faith in him, and they was rewarded in the end.
This is Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 11. It says, now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yield the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. So, hey, you have a reward. You go through your chastening, you go through you have a reward to get. Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 11. It says, or shall I verse 10? It says, for they verily for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous.
You gain chastening. Take away nice. You know, you gain your Scott, it doesn't get pleasant. You get your Scott for that.
But grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yielded the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby.
And I do not women we could be better men to be kings, to be princes, because there are a lot of people, even I tell my father, I say, thank you for the way when I was young, because I want to be dead, I want to be grandson of me. And I hear a lot of people thank me prayers for glad for you become it. You know? Even DMX said that in his song, he say, thank you for the too big, they gave me, because the too big, you couldn't get the same, you know what I mean? And that's exactly the way the father Yahweh Shai do me.
Can
You know what I mean?
scripture say, if you love your son, you chasten him.
Jake wanted to pull up one for me at a point in time because me and he had a misunderstanding. Because apparently I don't know how he is over his child, but when I tell him that what the child is supposed to fear, he didn't like that idea. But when I sit down and I reason with him and tell him why I said what he said, what I said, right? And he told me it's only twice he ever beat a certain child of his own about 13, right? And he understood what was coming from why I say your child is supposed to fear him, because what is a deterrent? And at the end of the day, scripture says, train up a child in the way that they may go. They depart from it, but if you ain't train them, because guess what, they might go wayward for a while, you know? But then at some point in time, they go catch back up to them and like, hey, I see why, and they will change.
Right? And the scripture say, a child, foolishness might be in a child, but the rod of correction will
Get
get it out of him.
And it's discipline, because even that child, you go appreciate that after a while, right? Because you teach them how to conduct yourself, you know how to really act. So it is a form that like the Lord doing us, the Lord disciplining us, the Lord grooming us to be kings.
And as we was going through last week, no, this week here on works, right? When we went in the two cherubims blocking the tree of life is because why? Now we had something corrupt inside of us, which was disobedience. So we knew good from evil, which the Most High would have taught us in the long run, good and evil. But now we had this poison inside of us, which was disobedience. You understand? And disobedience isn't a good thing, right? Because we became as gods here now, with knowing good and evil. But with disobedience, when the Lord talked to me now, we don't want to hear him. And this is why now he left off that immortality from us and say, here, well, we chastise all in the flesh. And I chastise all in the flesh. And all they get it right, all they get to understand why obedience is good, then all they get to the tree of life. Because Revelation chapter 22 said that the tree of life will be open to us. You understand? And there will be 12 manner of fruits. We will be immortal. But now we will know how to execute true judgment. You understand? Because they must have order in the heavenly places.
Because with Samuel tell Saul, disobedience is the sin of witchcraft.
Something, eh? Is the book of Romans chapter 7 and verse 14. It says, for we know that the law is spiritual, but I am a carnal soul under sin. For that which I do, I allow not. But that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. Yeah, what we would, that is what we don't do. Because we, in what man, as Yahushua, our Lord said, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. That in what man desires to worship and praise the Lord. But when they read Romans here, they say the carnal mind is enemy to the Most High. It have a rift between them both. You understand? The law of the flesh against the law of the spirit. I'm quite because this scripture hit hard. You know the scripture it say for what I would, that do I not, but what I hate, that I do. What I hate, that I do, and we all can testify. Because we don't hate to do we don't like doing the wrong thing. But you end up doing it because why? These demons.
Fighter.
And not only just the demons. You gotta keep in your mind too that the spirit is subjected to the chains of darkness. What is the chains of darkness? This flesh.
Flesh.
You understand?
Right? It says, if then I do that which I would not, I contend unto the Lord that it is good. For then it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. You are saying, and that is exactly what we are getting rid of. In transgression. Right? Because sin is transgression of the law. Right? And that is to show the importance of the law.
It's said so that, you have to actually fight. You have to actually fight. Right? That is how it's said that, Scripture says good is set against evil. And likeness and light against that.
I wish this thing's serious.
The fight, the scripture says you have to beat your body into subjection.
But, whoa.
This is 1 Corinthians 9, I read at verse 24. It says, know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that ye may obtain. And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate.
Right, and the one that will not receive the prize is 1/3, not the 2/3. 1/3 fraction. You understand? Right.
In all things, now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible crown. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I not as one that beateth the air, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means.
Means you bring it under your order, spiritual order, right? Under the order of your Father. Bring it to you, hold him and lock you and say, you're right.
And then when you really doing that, the Most High will be pleased with you too. Because he see where you're fighting to, because with the scripture says sin has made, roughly paraphrasing, sin has basically made a gap between you and the Most High. You understand? But when the Most High see you trying to keep your body under subjection, not giving in to sin, you're showing the Most High that, hey, I try my best to come back to you. You understand? And that these things has make the Most High pleased.
Back in front, the Lord seek him 10 times, Lord. Seek him 10 times more. And when they're trying, the Most High will send angels self.
I
appreciate it.
Right, it says Romans 8.
This was back there.
Yeah.
This is Philippians chapter 2 and verse 12. It says, wherefore, my beloved, as we have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work your own salvation with work out like your own salvation with fear and trembling. You don't get like already. There was one. It was, you know how to be beating yourself. Hey, the Most High to beat you no more. You have to beat your own self now. Hey,
because I was watching a movie called Code Geass, and within the movie, the woman was telling him, she say, when I look at you, I'm actually seeing two persons. I seeing a person whereby one watching the other, watching to see what you're doing to make sure that you're keeping on the right path. And that way we had to do, we had to watch this flesh to make sure that we don't go off. You understand?
Right,
So I'm going to say sometimes, I don't know whoever else has experienced it, but like on Sabbath, right? On Sabbath is one of the times, you know what, we at Great Millstone teach, but the times you have 58, you're not supposed to do your own pleasures on the Sabbath. But on the Sabbath is when you have a strong sexual desire. You understand that spirit just come on you real tough, real dread, and it's sickening. But what? By you trying your best to submit them spirits, doing your own things on the Sabbath. You understand? So that is a man trying, that is a man fighting them top level demons. You understand? That is just an example.
After that time, as we were saying from the start of the game, them demons will be no longer, how to say, prevalent to get to go off with that. So they want to step up the game. They want to go and reassess themselves and come again.
right, back in Romans 7 and verse 15, it says, For I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform, how to will, your will, because your will is to do the right thing. Ratazak, right? You want to do the right thing. So you say, boy, yeah, I will fast, I will take part at 3 days or whatever the case is, and then what? Temptations. You understand? For to will it, it's in you. You want to do it.
Because you mentioned in it,
The spirit speaking out. It says, for to will is present in me, but how to perform that which is good I find not.
but when the time reach, it's all kind of distractions. It's this, it's that coming at you. You don't want to do this, but somebody bringing it. And this is a fight. This is a fight that each and every one of the Akim around the world go through. And this is how we know that this is the truth. When you think about it, what temptations Christians or Christianity go through, or Islam, what temptations do they go through? Hinduism, none. But the Hebrew Israelites, especially those of Great Millstone.
It says, it says, for to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good I find not. For the good that I would I do not, but the evil which I would not, that I do. Now if I do that I would not,
it is no more I that do it, but sin dwelleth in me. Showing you that the flesh is weak. And that disobedient sacrifice that we get from our forefather Adam is the present.
Done.
So I find then a law that when I would do good, evil is present with me. For I delight in the law of Yahweh, Hashem Yahushua, after the inward man. But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, to bring me into captivity to the law for sin which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death.
The law of the inward mind is actually spirit, because the spirit dwells within the mind. But the flesh itself is talking with flesh. And that is the battle name. Because this flesh, with what it desires is pleasure.
So I thank us. I thank Yahweh last. I thank Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. I thank Yahweh through Yahushai Mashiach, our God. So then, with the mind, I myself serve the law of Yahweh. But with the flesh, the law of sin.
I want.
This is book of 2 John, chapter 2, Psalm 15. Right? It says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. For any man that loveth the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of power abideth forever. Right? See, I actually power with these things, these worldly things, you know, for the world basically dealing with the flesh. As the brother was saying earlier.
Because hear this. There's Romans 8:3. It says, for what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh. Right? He was now saying in Romans there, what I want to do, I do not. You understand? And that is because of the flesh. So it say, God sending his own son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin condemns sin in the flesh. So if Yahweh could do it, hey, we could do it too. You understand?
With the spirits, with them spirit, them demons just come to do is to, you know, the spirit willing, but the flesh weak.
Verse 4, it says that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the spirit.
That the righteousness of the law will be what?
Fulfilled in us.
Fulfill in us, right? Which is the blessings, the curses, but also the promise that the Lord had. You understand? Because through the works of the law, you know, as we've been speaking for the past 2 days, we cannot be justified. But due to that, we have no faith in the words of Yahweh Shem Yahshai. That promise that he made unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob will be fulfilled through us. Understand?
Verse 5, it says, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh. I go back to 2/3 of Israel because them after the flesh. You understand? But they that are after the spirit, the things of the spirit. And that is why sometimes when a righteous man go off, you just really feel like you can beat up your flesh. You understand? Because you do what that. You know, and that is a man minding the things of the spirit. Alright? Verse 6, it says, for to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity with Yahweh, against Yahweh, for it is not subjected to the law of God, neither indeed can be.
Because the law is spiritual.
Can.
Not only do you have the law.
So then, they that are in the flesh cannot please Yahweh. Alright? So, yeah. So, you wanting to do the things of the flesh, you're not being pleasable to God. And that is why 2/3 of Israel and the other nations had to be wiped out of the face of the earth. Alright? Because they're not being pleasable unto Yahweh. Alright? So with that, we want to give all praises once again to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, salutation to the men that push this word in sincerity and in all truth. Alright, this is one piece of GMS Trinidad West saying Shalom until the next lesson.